Here's something that will blow your mind. Our brains are so desperate to find patterns that when three plane crashes happen close together, people actually believe it's part of some cosmic rule rather than pure coincidence.
That's fascinating, especially since this belief has been around for centuries. What really gets me is how flexible people are with the timing.
Well, it goes incredibly deep into our psychology. Anthropologists have traced this rule of three concept back to ancient Middle Eastern traditions, and it shows up everywhere from religion to fairy tales. But here's what's really interesting. Some indigenous peoples in northern Canada traditionally believe things happen in fours instead.
Hmm, so it's really just cultural conditioning then? Making us see what we expect to see?
Exactly. There's actually a scientific term for this, apophenia. It's our brain's tendency to see meaningful patterns in random data. You know how when you're thinking about buying a certain car, suddenly you see that model everywhere? Same principle.
So, how does this play out with something as serious as plane crashes?
Let me give you a perfect example. In July 2014, we had three major crashes within just 8 days. Malaysia Airlines in Ukraine, Trans-Asia Airways in Taiwan, and Air Algeria in Mali. Together, these crashes claimed 462 lives. But here's the key. They had completely different causes.
That's quite striking. I imagine the media coverage must have really amplified the pattern seeking in people's minds.
Oh, you know it did. And that's where the availability heuristic kicks in. We judge the frequency of events by how easily examples come to mind. When crashes get intense media coverage, they seem more connected than they really are.
Well, that makes me wonder about the actual statistics. What are the real odds of crashes happening in clusters?
This is where it gets really interesting. For major crashes with 40 plus fatalities, the average time between accidents is about 36 days. And get this, the probability of three such accidents happening within any 45-day window is actually around 20 to 25%. It's called a Poisson process.
Hold on. You're telling me these clusters are actually normal from a statistical standpoint?
Exactly right. One aviation safety expert, Dr. Todd Curtis, found that between 1996 and 2008, every single year except 2007 had at least one period where three or more crashes happened within days of each other. It's just how random events work.
That's fascinating from a psychological perspective. We'd rather believe in some mystical pattern than accept pure randomness.
And here's what really drives us home. The actual odds of being in a fatal crash are about 1 in 11 million. You're more likely to be struck by lightning or win the lottery. But our pattern-seeking brains just can't help themselves.
You know what's interesting about that? Even knowing all these statistics, I bet people still count crashes when they hear about them.
That's because these beliefs are incredibly deeply ingrained. But understanding the mathematics and psychology behind these perceived patterns can help us resist that urge to see connections where none exist. Each flight truly is independent. There's no cosmic scorekeeper.
So, what you're saying is next time I hear about two crashes close together, I should think about Poisson processes instead of worrying about a third?
Exactly that. And remember, aviation keeps getting safer every year. Each accident, whether it's part of a cluster or not, leads to new safety measures and protocols. The real story here isn't about mysterious patterns. It's about how remarkably safe flying has become, despite what our anxious minds might tell us.
That's quite comforting, actually. Knowing these patterns we see are just our minds playing tricks on us, not some mysterious force at work.
And that's really the heart of it. Understanding why we see these patterns can help us move past superstition and focus on the remarkable safety record of modern aviation. It's a perfect example of how our ancient pattern-seeking instincts sometimes need to be overridden by our modern understanding of probability and statistics.